Started hunting with my brothers and my dad. Hunting for me is getting away from everything, just getting out into the country, to the quiet. I enjoy hunting with my son more than anything. Someday he'll have memories like I have of hunting with my dad. There's just no better feeling when a customer says, you know, that gun you sold me last year worked perfect. That is, to me, what it's all about. I'm Leon Streifel, and I'm one of the hunting experts at
Hi everyone, and welcome to the latest edition of the Bison Video Blog. Back with Jeff Kolpack, I'm Dom Izzo. North Dakota State wins a 31st consecutive football game Saturday. Jeffrey now 7-0 on the season. They should be the undisputed #1 team in the country. We can go off on our sports network brethren who are still giving Eastern Washington votes.
It's down to two.
They're down to two, so there's still some people out there still Eastern Washington is the #1 ranked team in the country. And the Bison are heading to Vermillion, South Dakota for the first time since 2002. Which was an epic game. It went 4 overtimes. The Coyotes won. It was not an epic season for NDSU. That was a 2-8 campaign, Bob Abish's last season. Obviously, the two teams have played the last couple of years. The Coyotes have not scored a point against NDSU in the last 2 seasons.
Outscored 96-0, I believe, in the last 2 games. But this is not really all Joe Glenn's fault. This whole scheduling thing was done before he got here. We'll go back to Oregon on the first game of this season. This is a game that Joe Glenn would not want on his schedule. It was done, like I said, done before it. And it cost them. You know, they lost their starting quarterback, Kevin Earl, to an injury that he's now just back. And going back to the Bison games, Vermillion are playing at Sioux Falls.
Again, that was a disaster.
That was a disaster. That was a PR attempt from the Vermillion people, the South Dakota people, to tap into that Sioux Falls market. And it doesn't really work when you get killed like you did at Howard Woods Stadium.
And you remember, you and I know most Bison fans will watch this blog, they were there. I mean, there was at least 6,000 Bison fans on one side of the field. They littered Howard Woods Stadium that entire day, and it was a Bison crowd from the start, and that game was dominated by NDSU, and they have over the last couple of years. Let's go back briefly to what we saw Saturday against Indiana State. NDSU, I thought, we mentioned in our post-game show, played its most complete game of the season. Defense was very, very good. Outside of the 2 garbage time touchdowns, and Zach Vroff found his footing. I thought NDSU, all in all, through 7 games, that was the best I'd seen him play.
Speaking of footing, there's Adam Keller hitting a career-long 50-yard field goal. Remember when this team, Dom, started a little slow?
Yeah.
And even during the heyday last year when they were just dominating teams, the first couple quarters were more the feeling out, then you put the hammer down. Saturday, they came out and just...
they put the hammer down.
They put the hammer down. I've never seen a more dominating quarter, I think, by NDSU in probably a while. Certainly in this winning
against
streak.
A good opponent.
Right.
You know, we're not talking like Incarnate Word or Delaware State.
Right.
You know, how dominant they played.
And they came out and they found Zach Vroff. And that was a big deal for this team because Zach Vroff had 15 touchdowns a year ago and had not hit the end zone yet this year. Of course, he has the ankle injury or still dealing with it, but apparently recovered enough, obviously, to catch 9 passes for over 100 yards like he did on Saturday.
I want to talk about the defensive line because that was something we were talking about, how important that spot was going to be heading into the season. Brian Schatz has been what we expected. He's been really good. Nate Tangway, we had no idea if he was going to be good. We had heard, watch out for this kid, he's going to be really good. He's been better than expected, I think. I asked Chris Kleiman that today, and they said, and they had high expectations for Tangway. I think he's been better than anybody could have hoped for. He's been terrific.
I think he's been so good that he's keeping some of the backups from getting more repetitions. Talk about Austin Farnloff and Grant Morgan. Nate Tangway, he's got the body, he's got the speed, he's got the size, and he also had the credibility last year as a redshirt freshman in practice when the offensive lineman said, you know, this guy is really hard to block. You maybe want to look out for him.
All right, on to the Coyotes. This is Joe Glenn, we mentioned in his 3rd year with USD. I'm kind of curious, how long do you think he will be the coach of the Coyotes? He's up there in age, he's been there a long time. This is his alma mater, I know, and he wants to see them get back to the playoffs, which would be the first time, obviously, in Division I era.
I'm not sure. He's a young upper 50s, though, isn't he? Just the way he conducts himself. He's a USD guy. He's a graduate. He played there. I think he'll take us through as long as he can. He's at a little disadvantage in the fact they're the last team to go through the transition, the last program to go through the Division I reclassification. You have to wonder, and I'll ask them this week, you have to wonder if they're still playing some catch-up there. They're obviously not there fiscally yet, because when you're playing for how much at 650?
525 they got from Oregon.
Is it worth it?
That's the great question.
Yeah, you need to play those MAC schools for $300,000. You need to play the Sun Belt for $275,000 if you really want to have a chance and not get killed. It does no good.
No.
I don't care what anybody says. It does no good to go anywhere and get beat 62-0.
You look at Kevin Earl, we mentioned him. He came back a couple games ago, the game against Northern Iowa, where the Coyotes were in that game for a majority of it before UNI pulled away. And then last week, losing 31-12 on the road at Missouri State. They come in 2-5 on the season, but this team plays better inside the Dome. You've been there many a time. What makes this place such a hard place to play?
Wow, it's been 12 years since I've been there. It's almost hard to remember. It's a smaller place. I don't know if they have new lighting or not, but I remember the lighting wasn't as good. I'm guessing that's been upgraded. But last time NDSU was 40-37 in 4 overtimes. Yeah. And again, like you said, that was the 2-8 season. I don't know what to expect. You know, I haven't seen UND play since like 2003. So, you know, some of these schools that you don't see for a while, you know, how many Bison fans? It seats 10,000. Will there be 2,000, 3,000 Bison fans? Is that... You think there will be?
Easy.
So
I do.
Does that mean it's that much of a home field advantage then? Although today, Chris Kleiman said, yeah, they're working on the silent counts, of course, but I don't know if they'll be needed as much as, say, maybe another team coming in there.
You look at how this transition has went for them, and I think you're exactly right, that this is the last of the programs to go through this, but Joe Glenn, I thought, was really interesting because that was the last game NDSU played before the playoffs last season. He was very overpouring with his, you know, love for NDSU and how good that they can go anywhere they want and get whoever they want. And that's been evident in the state of South Dakota. The Bison have went into that state, and they still did it this past recruiting class.
Dan
Marlette. And got guys out of Sioux Falls or anywhere in the state of South Dakota.
Well, they got the brother of a former South Dakota great player in Dan
Yeah.
Marlette, and that goes to show you that this program just has some recruiting, I don't want to say advantages, but boy, they can go in there and get some players.
You look, David Herbster is a former NDSU guy. I'm assuming he looks at what the Bison have done, probably up the road with SDSU is doing in Brookings, to say, this is where we need to get to. And obviously, I think the hiring of Craig Smith is their men's basketball coach. They're refurbishing the Dakota Dome. They're on their way this way. I think it's not that far away. I think men's basketball as well. I know we're talking football, but they will not be that far away in men's basketball from being a Summit League contender.
They've always been good in basketball until they made the Division I transition.
Switch,
But back in the old NCC days, you talk about Dave Boots. I always had that team ready to go.
South Dakota State, I want to mention them briefly, goes to Cedar Falls and beats Northern Iowa. We both had the Panthers winning that game. SDSU goes, gets another great game from Zach Zenner. They also get a defensive touchdown. I thought UNI's quarterbacks, both Breon Carnes and Sawyer Cole-Morgan, were not good. They have underperformed. I said that on our video ramblings yesterday all season long. How surprised were you the Jacks went and got a win there?
Moderately surprised, but with Northern Iowa, if they can't win at Indiana State, that goes to show you that maybe that it's not all there. They threw a pick six, too. Yep. You can't do that at home. And I don't think you can alternate quarterbacks.
This is the pick six. I mean, this is terrible right there.
Yeah. The guy, there's two players had him covered. You can't alternate quarterbacks. I just don't know if that's ever been successful in many places. You need that one guy, and I think they desperately wanted Cole-Morgan to be the guy. But obviously, it just hasn't been to be.
What has happened there? He was the freshman of the year a couple years ago in this conference. It's completely dropped off.
I don't know. You got me. I have no clue. The completion percentage isn't all that great. I don't know.
This week in the Valley, it looks pretty. Again, another interesting week. Northern Iowa goes to Western Illinois.
Is this it? Is this separation Saturday?
We believe so. Northern Iowa at Western Illinois, Youngstown State at South Dakota State. The Penguins have never played well in the Dakotas. Outside of one trip, I'm throwing my pen, outside of one trip, 2011, when they came to Fargo and won. That's the only time they played well out in this part of the country.
Well, the only grass field in the Missouri Valley Football Conference. And that's a fact. South Dakota State should keep it.
Yeah, right? For the new stadium. Mo State at Illinois State. That's a dicey one there. The Redbirds squeaked out one against Western Illinois, and you know Terry Allen's team's going to be pumped up for that one.
Well,
night game, too.
And Illinois State, again, that's a winnable game, and they could go to 7-0.
7-0. Yep, 4-0 in the league.
Yeah, and that puts them right there for a first-round bye.
Indiana State at Southern Illinois. That's an elimination game.
No doubt about it.
No doubt about it, that one there, right?
Especially Dale Lennon. SIU has lost 2 in a row on the road, back at home.
Indiana State's lost 2 in a row, too, back on the road.
Yep, that game, loser out.
That's going to be fun to watch coming up. We have a busy week ahead as North Dakota State and USD. First time for the Bison and Vermilion since 2002, so Jeff will get the Wayback Machine out, and we'll take a look at that 40-37 4-overtime game that the Bison last played in Vermilion. We'll have plenty of stories, of course, on Inforum.com and WDAY.com. Kolpack and Izzo live from Vermilion, 9 to 11 on 970 WDAY on Saturday morning. And then, of course, the Media Blog pregame show live on WDAY's Extra, 11:30 on Saturday as NDSU goes for a 32nd straight win as they take on USD. For Jeff Kolpack, I'm Dom Izzo. That's the latest edition of the Bison Video Blog.